All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I am Shelby Dwyer. I'm one of the counselors over at the Health Center, and thank you for joining us for another week of the live stream Yoga for Mental Wellness. This is a 60-minute Yin Yoga class. And so a couple of things while I'm talking. You can grab some props. So you'll want 2 blocks or 2 textbooks, a belt, oh my God, aggressive, a belt or a strap if you have one, like a yoga strap, and then a pillow or a bolster, as we'll be using those throughout our practice, and I'll let you know when we'll be using them. Sorry for that loud noise. Hopefully it wasn't as loud on there. I'm also testing out using music, so feel free to send me a message if it feels like it's a little too loud or hard to hear me. Let me know. But I'm very excited that you're here. So thank you so much for being here and for taking the time out of your day to take care of yourself and practice Yin Yoga, practicing yoga in general. You'll notice we have a snazzy new background, so it's exciting. Anyway, to start today, you're actually gonna start on your back. And so I'll invite you to potentially fold your blanket into a small rectangle, kind of fold it a few times. And you can rest the back of your head on your blanket. And then you might bend your knees and keep your knees maybe hips width distance apart or to the edges of your mat. And then allow one edge of the blanket to almost bunch up so that it supports the back of your neck. So kind of peeling it up just a little bit. And then wherever you are, you can rest your hands on your belly. Maybe rest your hands alongside you. Maybe bring the arms overhead, but notice if at any point your arms go numb or start to tingle, remove the arms from overhead and just allow them to rest on your body. And you might need to lift your chin slightly and then lower your chin and your head back. Lift your head slightly. Tuck your chin in toward your chest, lower your head, just so that your chin and your forehead are the same height. And your chin is not rising above your forehead. And then keeping your eyes open or maybe closing them, start to just tune into your body. Without trying to change your breath in any way. Notice your body's ability to breathe itself. Allow your breath to be natural, without effort, without trying to slow it down or maintain a certain pace. Take stock of your body and notice any areas of tension or where you may be holding or experiencing some compression or tightness. See if at first you can scan your body and notice those areas, perhaps labeling them, naming them. For example, if you scan your body and notice that your knees and your legs are tight and the muscles are clenched, maybe in your mind you say knees or legs as you gently release the tension in that area. Or if you notice tension in your jaw, saying to yourself silently, jaw, allowing that part of your body to soften. You might experiment with taking some deeper breaths in and out through your nose or through your mouth, whatever way feels most comfortable. You might expand with taking deeper inhales and exhales. Again, breathing in a way that feels comfortable for you, whether that's through your nose or through your mouth. Keeping your hands as they are, or joining me in a brief breathwork exercise. You can bring your right hand to your belly, your left hand to rest on your ribs, on the side of your waist. Take a deep breath in and really fill up the belly, raising that right hand with your belly. Maybe even inhaling deeply so that the left hand lifts up in the ribs expand. Exhaling, allowing the ribs to deflate, the belly to deflate. Again, inhaling, low belly expands. Maybe the ribs expand. Exhaling, allowing the ribs and the belly to deflate. Gently pulling your belly button towards your spine. Again, deep breath into the belly. Filling the ribs. Exhaling, allowing everything to contract. Continue this for a few rounds at your own pace. One more big breath in. At the end of your next exhale, hug your knees into your chest for a moment. Give yourself a squeeze, maybe rock from side to side, massage out the low back. You might even take some big inhales and sigh out the mouth. Lift your legs so that your feet could almost stand on the ceiling. Keep a slight bend in your knees. Allow the legs to just kind of hang heavy upside down. You might even experiment with lifting your arms up towards the ceiling, fingertips face in, and then allow the hands to become limp, fingertips facing towards the ribs, moving into a sleeping tiger pose. We won't be here for too long, but notice if anything starts to feel numb or be tingly, you can always release any of your limbs. Wherever you are, can you breathe just as deeply as you were when you were resting on your back? Slowly lower your arms, maybe alongside you. Curl your knees in toward your chest, lower your feet to the ground. And just pause for a moment, noticing anything that has shifted in your body. Noticing if there's any areas of lingering tension that might need your attention. Perhaps you can direct your inhales to those parts of your body that feel tight or compressed or pressure or holding. And allow each exhale to gently remove any of those sensations that are no longer serving you. Slowly curl yourself over to one side. Lift yourself up for just a moment. Go slow because you've been on your back for a little while. Please excuse my hair. And you'll grab your your pillow or bolster, and you'll center it perpendicular to the perpendicular to the long edge of your mat, so parallel with the short edge, about halfway down your mat. And where you'll be laying is this pillow or bolster is going to be somewhere along the back of your body, maybe under the ribs and up towards the shoulders. My torso is a bit smaller, so I'm going to pull it down so that it actually reaches the back of where my hips start, so that my upper body, the tops of my shoulder blades, and my head can reach the ground. And so you'll have to find what works for you. You might use your blanket underneath your head to offer a little bit of support, because this can be quite an opening through the chest. The blanket allows for a little bit of support so that the throat, I said chest, so that the throat isn't as exposed or vulnerable or open. I'm going to remove mine just because I want a little bit more opening. And then you can keep your knees bent, or you might even extend them long on the earth. Arms can be resting on your torso, maybe resting alongside you, or for a bit more of an extension and opening across the front of your body, you can allow the arms to be long overhead. And so here in this shape, which is a variation of bridge, you may experience an opening across the chest, the belly, the front of the body. Depending on if you've supported your head or not, you may experience an opening across the throat. Depending on the placement of your arms, you may feel an expansion across the chest, across the collarbones. If your legs are long, you might even experience maybe an opening across the hips, a heaviness to your pelvis, whether the legs are bent or straight. Wherever you are, can you take those deep, full breaths in your low belly and even expanding up through the ribs. And so while you're in this shape, continuing to breathe deeply, I'll orient you a bit more to Yin Yoga. And so this practice is one that targets connective tissues in the body rather than the muscles. And connective tissues in the body are the joints, the ligaments, the fascia, which is this almost Spider-Man-like webbing that holds everything together, all the organs. And in targeting these connective tissues, we increase the body's resiliency to stress. We improve the health and the elasticity of our connective tissues in the body. If you've ever heard, ooh, this pose is really juicy, it's potentially coming from Yin Yoga, because Yin Yoga helps fascia stay really juicy, as most of the fluid in our body does reside in the fascia. And so in Yin Yoga, since we are targeting those connective tissues in the body, we come into a shape and we find an area of sensation in that shape. And so, for example, here, while you're lying supine flat out on your mat with support underneath your back, you might experience, as I said, some opening or sensation across the chest or across the front of the body in this gentle back bend. I don't know about you, but I've been sitting hunched over a computer today, and so this shape actually was pretty needed for me. And so again, we come into a shape we find an area of sensation, and then we hold for time in relative stillness. And the idea is that that stillness allows for the connective tissues in the body to begin to shift out of their habitual patterns so that they can become more strong and healthier. Please absolutely keep in mind that this is your practice and everything is an offering here. So if you find that you want to lay on your mat or stay in a pose longer or come out of it faster, please do what you need to do. You are the expert of your body. Take care of yourself. So you've been in this shape for a few moments. Maybe something needs to be adjusted. Maybe you bend the knees or you straighten them if they were bent. Maybe you change the position of your arms, and notice how that changes the sensation that you may experience in other parts of your body. Continue to take those deep, expansive inhales and exhales. Really allowing the front of your body to expand as you inhale and to soften as you exhale. Take a long, deep breath in. Gently exhale through the mouth. Slowly begin to prop yourself up so that you can remove your pillow or bolster from beneath your back. And then come to lie down on your back once more with the knees bent, maybe mats width distance apart, knees knocked together, hands resting on your torso. You'll notice that between sides or from time to time after taking a shape, we'll come into a more neutral shape as we are right now. And this is so that the body has a chance to integrate the movement that it's just completed. So this neutral shape is known as the rebound or resonance pose within Yin Yoga. Take a long, full breath in. And sigh out the mouth. Hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Maybe rock from side to side. And fall over to one side. Use your arms to prop yourself up to a seated position. You'll want your blanket and your pillow nearby. And so you might fold your blanket back up into that rectangle shape and come to sit on the edge of your blanket. And then you'll bring your bolster or pillow over to one side. We'll be moving into caterpillar pose, or excuse me, half dragonfly pose. I'm jumping ahead of myself. And you'll curl your right foot into toward your hips so that the right knee is flat out on your mat. And you'll extend through your left leg almost as if you were going to move into like a split or a forward fold. It's almost like a half V shape for your legs. And then you could potentially bring your pillow or your bolster to rest on top of your left thigh. And you could prop your arm onto your pillow or bolster and just kind of rest your head on your hands. Alternatively, if you've got your textbooks or blocks nearby, you could also use those, bringing one block to the inside of your left knee and again propping your elbow up, resting your head in your hand. These are a bit of more side bends. If you have the flexibility and mobility, you could also rest your left arm on the inside of your left leg, maybe reach your right arm over your head, just kind of dangling. And here we're arching up and over our left leg, so make sure that you still have space along that left side of your waist. Actually, I'll put myself up here. And so in this shape, wherever you are, you might experience an opening across the right side of your ribs, maybe even across the right part of your lower back. You might experience a little bit of pressure in the inner left hip, maybe across a stretch, across the back of your left leg. Allow your feet to be relaxed, your legs to be relaxed. While your left or right arm might be using some effort wherever you are, can you allow the rest of your body to relax and soften and allow the bones to support you here? Breathe deeply into those right ribs, maybe imagining that the breath could almost spread those little spaces between each rib. You'll notice, if you haven't already, that your mind has probably wandered to your to-do list or things that you forgot to do or need to take care of, or even just the worries that the whole world is experiencing right now. And know that that's perfectly appropriate. The brain is designed to be distracted because it's trying to keep us safe. And so perhaps if it's helpful, you might say, "Thank you, brain," each time you find yourself distracted. You might come back to the sensation of your breath to pull you back into the present moment. You may notice the temperature of the air on your skin, the sensation of your clothing against your skin, the texture of your props or your mat or the floor. When you notice you're distracted, use one of those tools to come back to the present moment. We'll be here for about another 30 seconds or so. So notice if anything needs to be shifted, maybe adjusting your props, arching a little bit deeper over that left leg, or perhaps easing gently out of it, coming a bit higher. Finding what works for you and what works best for your body. Take a long breath in. And as you exhale, slowly begin to use the arms to prop your torso back upright. Ooh, might feel a little bit achy. Slowly extend your legs in front of you. Maybe kind of swish your feet back and forth. Maybe kind of shaking the knees out. You could also bring your hands behind you and open up through the chest, pulling the shoulder blades together. You might stretch your neck gently, moving your head from side to side, pausing with one ear on one shoulder. All right. With your legs still extended, you can bring your pillow so that it rests somewhere on your legs, one end. And then you can smush it in half, maybe give it a hug, and then gently round forward. Legs still straight and extended towards whatever is the front of you right now. Resting your head on the midsection so that you can breathe comfortably and breathe just as deeply as you did when we were on our backs. If the back of your legs feel a bit too much tension or pulling, you can always keep a slight bend in them and maybe even bring your books or blocks on their lowest height underneath the knees to offer some support. But here in Caterpillar, you may feel a stretch across the hamstrings, the back of your thighs, the back of your legs. There might be a spreading of the sacrum and the low back. Maybe even a stretch across your glutes. Depending on how far forward you're rounded, you may experience an expansion across the back of your shoulder blades, almost as if they were winging out and melting down towards the floor. Maybe a lengthening and a rounding of your spine. If at any point rounding forward feels like a bit too intense, you can always bring your hands on either side of your hips, press your hands firmly into the mat alongside your hips and lengthen your spine towards the ceiling. So again, finding what works for you in this shape, in this moment, and knowing that it could be different day to day. Where I'm at, the weather is chilly and cold and damp, and so my body personally is a little bit more achy today. And so that might mean that I don't go into the fullest expression of a pose, or maybe I use my props in a different way than I normally do to offer some more support. Take a long, deep breath in. Exhale, gently move your pillow off towards the side. And then again, maybe bring your hands behind you, shake out the legs, kind of do whatever you need to in this moment. Maybe again, open up through the chest. You might even just for a moment cross your legs and do a simple twist from side to side just to kind of bring out your spine. Might feel nice. And then we'll move to the half dragonfly on the other side. So bringing your left foot in toward your pelvis and extending your right leg long, almost as if it were a half V shape. Your left knee is on the floor. If it's far away, I didn't say this on the first side, you can always bring a block or a textbook. You have that underneath your knee. And then again, you might bring your pillow so that it rests perpendicular to your right leg, resting across your top thigh, maybe resting your elbow on there, propping your head in your hands, arching up and over your right leg, ensuring that you have enough space to breathe in your midsection. As I mentioned on the first side, another variation is to also bring a block or a book on the inside of your right knee. Again, propping the elbow up, your right elbow, resting your head in your right hand. Again, depending on your flexibility, you could also reach with your right hand toward your right foot or maybe along the floor, and then arch up and over, side bending, maybe allowing the left arm to drape and kind of hang overhead. But this is going to be much more of an opener across the left side of your waist, those left ribs. So find what works for you, find what area feels the most, not necessarily comfortable, but sustainable for several rounds of breath, several minutes. You might feel a stretch across the back of your right leg. Keeping a slight bend in that knee is going to support the hamstrings a little bit more so that the stretch isn't as intense. As I mentioned, we're in a side bend, so you may experience an opening across the left side of your ribs here, the left side of your waist, maybe some pressure in the right hip. Allow your feet to be relaxed, your knees to be relaxed. Recall your ability to come back to your breath, come back to the temperature of the room or the textures on and around you, to come back to the present moment. You've been in this shape for a few minutes, so notice if anything needs to be adjusted. Perhaps you need to ease out of the pose slightly, arching just a bit less, maybe coming up to a bit more of a straight spine. You could potentially experiment with moving a bit deeper into the pose, maybe experimenting with that left arm dangling over your head, deepening that side bend. You could also stay exactly as you are. That is perfectly appropriate as well. Wherever you are, can you breathe deeply into the left side of your ribs, the left side of your waist? Maybe sighing out the mouth if it feels comfortable. The beauty of an online practice is that potentially you are by yourself, and so if you feel the need to groan or moan or sigh, whatever, you can do it, and nobody's judging you. Safe, non-judgmental space here. As you feel ready, take a big breath in. Exhale, use the arms to prop your torso back upright. And this time, maybe bring the soles of your feet together so that you're in more of a butterfly shape, knees winging out to the side. You can bring both hands to your ankles, maybe rest your thumbs in the arch of your feet, and then just slowly lift and lower your legs. It's like a flapping butterfly's wings. This is not very Yin Yoga, but for me personally, it feels like a nice release after getting really deeply into the hips and the hamstrings in those last poses. Might do opposite leg and the other, maybe experiment with flapping a little faster or a bit slower. Whenever you're ready, finding some stillness, maybe still in this butterfly shape just for a moment. Soften your gaze or close your eyes. Lift your spine, couldn't find the word, lift your spine towards the ceiling, imagining the tips of your ears can almost reach towards the ceiling. Shoulders over the hips, ears over the shoulders. And then however you get there, you'll come to lie down on your belly. And you won't need any props at the moment, so feel free to move them over to the side. And once you're on your belly, hopefully you can see me, you'll lower all the way down, but your forearms are going to be parallel to one another. Your elbows will be about an inch or two ahead of your shoulders, so you can see that there's an angle here. Again, forearms parallel. Elbows will be hugging in so that they're not splaying out. Fingers will be spread wide and pressing into the mat. And now you might kind of shimmy your hips from side to side, maybe extend one leg, lower it down, extend the other leg, lower it down, as that can provide a little bit more space in the hip flexors, those hip creases. And then wherever you are, push your pelvis into the mat, and then imagine that you could push your belly, your low belly forward, creating a little bit more length in the spine. That might also compress your low back here, that lumbar spine. So be mindful of what feels right for you. If you want to lessen the compression, you can always walk your arms a bit more forward, lowering your torso. Alternatively, if you keep your feet wide behind you, that will also release some of the pressure in the low back. The closer your feet are together behind you, that will increase the sensation in the low back. Your gaze can be toward your thumbs. You could also experiment with gently tilting your head back or gazing forward. But notice that that is going to actually increase sensation or compression in the cervical spine, the back of your neck. Wherever you are, can you breathe deeply? And noticing what it's like to breathe in this shape where your belly is against the earth. If at any point this feels a bit too intense, you can always lower fully to your mat, but we won't be here too much longer. If I didn't say it already, this is Sphinx pose. Allow your jaw to be soft, your pelvis to be heavy, your legs to be relaxed. Maybe you can soften your spine. While the arms and the shoulders have to do a bit more effort in keeping you upright, can you allow the rest of your body to melt towards the earth, towards your mat? As you feel ready, big, deep breath in. Exhale, lower your torso to the ground. Maybe stack your palms one on top of the other, elbows splaying out. And then rest your cheek to one side, or perhaps resting your forehead on the back of your hands. You might bend your knees and windshield wiper your legs back and forth, just allowing for a bit of a gentle twist in the low back, bringing out the spine. And then whenever you feel complete, finding relative stillness for a moment, allowing your body to be heavy on your mat. As you feel ready, use the arms to begin to prop your torso upright. Come into a tabletop position so that your knees will be over, your hips will be over your knees. Shoulders will be over your wrists. Fingers spread wide. And here you might move through some arching and rounding of the spine. Ooh, you might hear some cracking or popping. Maybe wiggling the hips from side to side, finding some more fluid movement if that would feel okay. You might inhale as you arch your back and open up through the chest. And exhale as you round the spine and push the floor away. Maybe moving with your breath. Whenever you feel ready, slowing down and finding a neutral spine. You might walk your hands forward so that your hands are forward of your shoulders. And then you'll bring your left ankle behind your right wrist. Left knee will be behind your left wrist. And then you'll slowly start to inch your right leg back. Shimmy the hips from side to side for a moment and just seeing if you can find a place where your hips feel like they're level. If this left hip feels like it's too far away from the ground and maybe raised up a bit, you can always bring your blanket and thread it underneath your hips as a support for both hips and your pelvis. The full expression of this pose, which is known as sleeping swan in Yin Yoga, would be upright, like this. You could also fold forward over your left knee, maybe propping yourself on forearms. My blocks are a little far away, but you could also use your blocks or your textbooks alongside you if you're going to be in that full expression, or maybe as extra support under the forearm so that the floor isn't quite far away. If you'd like a stretch across the back, you could also fold fully forward. Maybe resting your forehead on the back of your hands or on your mat. And so finding a variation of sleeping swan that works best for your body. Being mindful of keeping your hips level to the earth. Allow both feet to be relaxed. And don't worry about your left shin being parallel to the short edge of your mat. Your left heel can be moving more toward your pelvis. If you like, that actually lessens the intensity of the stretch across the kneecap. Here in Sleeping Swan, we won't be here too long, but you might experience maybe some pressure in the left hip, maybe even in the right hip across the pelvis. You may experience a stretch or a spreading or an expansion across the top of your left thigh, maybe a stretch across the IT band in that left leg. You may also experience a stretch or some sensation across the top of your right thigh, your quads. Quad, single leg. Allow your jaw to be soft here, your face to be soft. Whenever you feel ready, take a long breath in. Exhale, use your arms to prop your torso upright. Shift your weight over to your left hip. Maybe remove any props that you have and extend your legs out in front of you for just a moment. I like to kind of massage or rub or pat the back of my legs, being mindful of not hitting the back of my knee. Just because it's sensitive, we don't want to cause damage. Maybe rub the tops of your legs. Give your toes a squeeze. And then whenever you feel ready, we'll move back into that tabletop position. So fingers spread wide, wrists underneath your shoulders, knees hip-width distance apart. If you'd like, you can always move through a couple rounds of cat-cow, but we'll move right on to the other side. So walking your hands out a little bit further ahead of your shoulders, bringing your right knee to the back of your right wrist, your left ankle somewhere behind your left wrist, maybe heel moving towards your pelvis, and then sliding your left leg back. And I didn't say this on the first side, but you might want to just take a peek behind you and ensure that your leg is coming out directly from your hip. Again, if you find that your right hip is maybe a bit higher up off the ground, or you're kind of leaning to one side, you can always bring a blanket and thread it underneath your hips for some support for the pelvis. And then shimmy your hips from side to side. Find where they're level. And then you might stay upright. This is the full expression of the pose, which is a bit more intense, more of compression against, along the low spine. You might fold forward, maybe keeping the arms straight, maybe coming onto forearms or forearms on blocks. That brings the floor up a little bit. But again, finding what works for you here in Sleeping Swan on the right side. Maybe melting your chest toward the floor, resting your forehead on the back of your hands. Allow your jaw to be soft. Your hips will be heavy, moving down towards the earth. Allow the muscles in your legs, your glutes, your spine to relax. The sensation that you experience from side to side, from left to right, may differ, and that's perfectly appropriate. Here in this shape, you may feel some pressure in the right hip. Maybe some stretching across the right knee, a stretch across the top of your left thigh, your quad. Maybe a spreading of the low back and the glutes as you round forward. Again, right shin does not have to be parallel towards the top of your mat. You can tuck that foot in towards your left hip just to alleviate any pressure on the right knee. How's the breath here? Wherever you are, continue to breathe just as deeply as you have throughout this entire class. As you learned from the first side, you know we won't be here forever. Perhaps you can breathe into any sensation you might be experiencing. As you feel ready, take a long, deep breath in. Exhale, use the arms to straighten the torso. Shift your weight over into the right hip, removing any props, and then just come to lie back down on your mat. You might keep the knees bent for just a moment, or you may completely lie fully supine on your mat. Maybe take the legs a little bit wider, take the arms a little bit wider alongside you, or hands can rest on your belly or maybe even overhead. Take some cleansing, deep, full inhales and exhales. And then fidget as much as you need to so that you're comfortable. Maybe tucking the chin toward your chest, lifting your head up a bit, and then lowering the head back down. Again, ensuring that your chin and forehead are level so that you support the back of your neck. Set yourself up well so that you can allow your whole body to be supported by the mat beneath you. Allowing every muscle and ligament and joint, all those connective tissues and the bones, everything to soften. Relinquishing any and all effort in your body. Allowing your body to fully integrate the practice that you've just engaged in. Allow your jaw to be soft, your forehead to be soft. Slowly start to take some deeper inhales and exhales. First, gently waking the body with your breath. Maybe inviting some movement into your fingers, opening and closing the palms. Maybe gently rolling the wrists and the ankles. Slowly hug your knees in toward your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Maybe curl up into a little ball. Slowly roll yourself to one side and pause for a moment on your side. And then as you feel ready, use your arms to prop yourself upright and come to sit in a seated position, facing wherever you're streaming this yoga class. Palms can rest face down on your knees or your thighs if you want some more grounding energy. Palms face up if you would like a bit more energy. Keep the eyes closed or have a soft gaze. Take a long, deep breath in. And sigh out the mouth. Again, big breath in. And sigh it out. Last one, deep breath in. And let it go. Slowly blink open the eyes and come back to the space. Thank you so much for being here and for practicing. I hope that you enjoyed this Yin Yoga class. It will be up live on the CSDS YouTube, Northeastern Spiritual Life. Check us out next week, Monday at 4 p.m. I will be here teaching live. Take good care, get rest, stay hydrated, wash your hands. Bye.